Dr. Elena Vasquez ran her fingers along the smooth surface of her swollen belly, feeling the gentle flutter of life within. At 7 months pregnant, every movement of her unborn daughter felt like a small miracle. The late evening light filtered through the windows of their home laboratory, casting long shadows across the quantum computing equipment that had become her life's work. She had been working on the final calculations for her breakthrough in quantum entanglement communication, a discovery that would revolutionize secure data transmission. The equations danced before her eyes, elegant and beautiful in their complexity. But tonight, something else demanded her attention. Marcus's workstation hung quietly in the corner, its holographic display still active from his earlier session. Elena had noticed he'd been working late more frequently, claiming urgent meetings with investors for his tech startup. She trusted him completely, or had, until tonight. A soft chime from his quantum terminal drew her attention. A message notification blinked insistently on the encrypted channel she had helped him set up months ago. Elena hesitated, her hand hovering over the interface. Privacy had always been sacred between them, but something nagged at her intuition. Message header made her blood freeze. Tonight was incredible. Can't wait to see you again tomorrow. Elena's scientific mind immediately began cataloging details, even as her heart began to shatter. The timestamp showed 11:47 p.m. exactly, when Marcus had claimed to be in a board meeting. The encryption signature was from a secure channel she didn't recognize. Her fingers trembled as she accessed the message thread. What she found was worse than simple infidelity. The messages between Marcus and someone identified only as N revealed intimate details of their relationship, but also something far more sinister. Technical specifications, quantum algorithms. Her algorithms. The prototype data you provided exceeded all expectations, one message read. Dr. Vasquez's work is exactly what we need for the military contract. The quantum entanglement protocols are flawless. Elena sank into the nearest chair, her daughter kicking as if sensing her mother's distress. Marcus hadn't just betrayed their marriage. He had stolen her life's work and sold it to a competitor. The quantum communication breakthrough she had spent 3 years developing was being discussed casually in love letters to his mistress. She scrolled through weeks of messages, each one a dagger to her heart. The woman, who signed herself as Natalia, was clearly a scientist herself, someone who understood the value of Elena's research. The messages revealed she worked for Nexus Dynamics, a rival quantum research company that had been aggressively pursuing military contracts. "Your wife is brilliant," Natalia had written in one message. "Almost makes me feel guilty about what we're doing." Almost. Marcus's response had been swift and cold. "Elena is too idealistic. She'd never approve of military applications. This way, everyone wins. She gets to keep her pure research, and we get the practical applications." Elena's hands clenched into fists. How dare he decide what she would or wouldn't approve of? How dare he steal her work and justify it as being for her own good? The baby kicked again, harder this time, and Elena placed both hands on her belly. "I know, little one," she whispered. "Mama's going to fix this." She began copying files, her photographic memory cataloging every detail of the betrayal. Marcus thought he was protecting her from the harsh realities of commercialization, but he had underestimated her completely. Elena Vasquez wasn't just a brilliant scientist. She was a woman who had built quantum encryption systems. She knew how to hide information, how to protect it, and how to use it. As footsteps echoed in the hallway, Elena quickly closed the messages and returned to her own work. Marcus entered with his usual warm smile, pressing a gentle kiss to her temple. "How's my brilliant wife doing?" he asked, his hand joining hers on her belly. "Just fine," Elena replied, her voice steady despite the storm raging within. "How was your meeting?" Productive, Marcus said, his lie delivered with practiced ease. Very productive. Elena smiled back, already planning her next moves. If Marcus wanted to play games with her life's work, she would show him exactly how. Dangerous it was to underestimate a pregnant quantum physicist with nothing left to lose. The war had begun, and Elena Vasquez intended to win. Elena waited 3 days before making her move. 3 days of playing the perfect wife, sharing intimate dinners, and accepting Marcus's gentle caresses while her daughter grew restless in her womb. Every touch felt like a betrayal, every kiss. A lie, but she needed time to plan. Detective Ray Morrison came highly recommended by her mentor, Professor James Whitmore. Morrison was a former FBI cybercrime specialist who now worked exclusively for clients requiring discretion and technical expertise. His office was a fortress of encrypted servers and surveillance equipment. Corporate espionage cases are my specialty, Morrison explained, his weathered face serious as he reviewed Elena's preliminary evidence. But this is more complex than usual. We're dealing with stolen intellectual property, infidelity, and potential federal crimes. Elena shifted uncomfortably in her chair, her pregnancy making long sitting sessions difficult. I need to know everything. Every meeting, every message, every transaction. My husband thinks I'm naive, but I helped design the quantum encryption he's using to hide his crimes. Morrison nodded approvingly. That's our advantage. Can you maintain access to his systems without arousing suspicion? I built half of them, Elena replied with grim satisfaction. Marcus always relied on my technical expertise. He never thought to lock me out. Over the following weeks, Elena became a master of deception. During the day, she continued her research, published papers, and attended prenatal appointments with Marcus by her side. At night, while he slept, she worked with Morrison to unravel the full scope of his betrayal. The investigation revealed a web of deceit that went far beyond simple adultery. Natalia Cross, Marcus's mistress, was indeed a senior researcher at Nexus Dynamics. But more disturbing was the discovery that their affair had been strategically planned from the beginning. Look at this, Morrison said during one of their clandestine meetings. He pulled up security footage from a scientific conference 6 months earlier. Your husband didn't just meet Natalia by chance. She approached him specifically, targeted him because of his access to your work. Elena watched the footage with clinical detachment, observing how Natalia had isolated Marcus at the conference bar, how she had steered their conversation toward Elena's research, how she had played the role of the brilliant but lonely scientist seeking connection. She's good, Elena admitted. Marcus never stood a chance. But he made the choice to betray you, Morrison reminded her. Multiple times. The financial records show he's been receiving payments from Nexus Dynamics for months. This isn't just about stolen research. It's about systematic corporate espionage. Elena's daughter kicked particularly hard that night, as if sensing her mother's growing anger. The medical scans showed a healthy, active baby girl, but Elena sometimes wondered if her stress was affecting the child. She placed her hand on her belly, whispering reassurances. The breakthrough came when Elena discovered Marcus's secondary quantum storage system 1 he thought she didn't know about. Hidden in their home laboratory's sub-basement, it contained terabytes of her research data, correspondence with Nexus Dynamics, and detailed plans for commercializing her discoveries. My God, Elena breathed as she scrolled through the files. He's been planning this for over a year. Before I even got pregnant, Morrison whistled low. This is enough to put him away for corporate espionage, theft of intellectual property, and violation of federal research grants. Your work was partially funded by government contracts, wasn't it? Yes, Elena confirmed, which makes this treason. But the most damaging evidence came from the intimate messages between Marcus and Natalia. They revealed not just the affair, but detailed discussions about Elena's pregnancy, their marriage, and plans for after the baby was born. "She's getting suspicious," Marcus had written. "Elena's been asking questions about my late nights." Natalia's response was chilling. "Maybe it's time to accelerate our timeline. Once the baby comes, she'll be too distracted to notice the research transfers. We can clean out the remaining files then." Elena's hands shook as she read the messages. They were planning to wait until she was vulnerable, exhausted from childbirth, to complete their theft. They had calculated her motherhood into their betrayal. That night, Elena made her decision. She would not wait to become a victim. She would not let them use her daughter's birth as an opportunity to destroy her life's work. She began preparing her counterattack, carefully documenting every crime, every betrayal, every stolen byte of data. Elena Vasquez had spent her career understanding the fundamental forces of the universe. Now she would apply that same methodical precision to destroying the man who had shattered her world. Marcus came home that evening with flowers and Elena's favorite ice cream, playing the part of the devoted husband preparing for fatherhood. Elena accepted his kiss, smiled at his gifts, and continued planning his downfall. The investigation was complete. Now the real work would begin. Elena chose their anniversary for the confrontation. The irony felt appropriate, exactly 3 years since they had promised to honor and cherish each other. And now she would honor their relationship with complete honesty about his betrayal. She prepared meticulously, as she did everything. The evidence was organized in encrypted files. The legal documents were ready, and Detective Morrison was on standby. Elena had also taken precautions to secure her research, transferring the most sensitive data to quantum encrypted servers that only she could access. Marcus arrived home with champagne and roses, his face glowing with excitement. "Happy anniversary, my brilliant wife," he said, kissing her gently. "I thought we could celebrate quietly tonight, just the 3 of us." He placed his hand on her belly, where their daughter had been unusually active all day. "I have something for you too," Elena said, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. She led him to their home laboratory, where she had prepared a holographic display showing the quantum entanglement equations that had become her life's work. "Elena, this is beautiful," Marcus said, studying the elegant mathematical formulas floating in the air. "Is this the final proof for your communication protocol?" "Yes," Elena replied. "It's also the research you've been selling to Nexus Dynamics." The color drained from Marcus's face. For a moment, the only sound was the quiet hum of the quantum computers and the distant rumble of city traffic. Elena watched him process her words, saw the moment when denial shifted to calculation. "Elena, I don't know what you're talking about," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Don't." Elena's voice cut through his attempted lie like a laser. "Don't insult my intelligence, Marcus. I know about Natalia Cross. I know about the payments from Nexus Dynamics. I know about the stolen research files, the classified data transfers, and your plans to complete the theft after our daughter is born." Marcus's face cycled through emotions: surprise, fear, anger, and finally a cold hardness she had never seen before. "How long have you known?" "Weeks," Elena said. "Long enough to document everything. Long enough to understand exactly what you've done to us." She activated another holographic display, showing the financial records Morrison had uncovered. 47 separate payments totaling over $2 million. "My research, Marcus. My life's work, sold piece by piece to fund your startup and impress your mistress." Marcus stepped back, his hands raised in a gesture of placation. "Elena, you have to understand." "I understand perfectly," Elena interrupted, her voice growing stronger. "You decided my work was too valuable to remain in my control. You seduced me, married me, got me pregnant, all while systematically stealing everything I've ever created. That's not true, Marcus exploded. I love you, Elena. I've always loved you. The business with Natalia. It was just business. A way to ensure our financial security. Elena laughed, a bitter sound that echoed in the laboratory. Business? You call corporate espionage business? You call adultery business? She gestured to her swollen belly. What do you call this, Marcus? What do you call our daughter? For a moment, Marcus's mask slipped completely. I call her leverage, he said. Quietly. I call her the reason you'll never report this. The words hit Elena like a physical blow. She staggered, gripping the edge of the workstation for support. Leverage? Think about it, Elena, Marcus continued, his voice taking on a familiar persuasive tone. You expose me. You destroy our family. Our daughter grows up without a father, grows up knowing her daddy is a criminal. You're too good a person to do that to her. Elena felt her daughter kick, as if responding to the tension in the room. She looked at Marcus, really looked at him, and saw a stranger. The man she had loved, the man she had trusted with her heart. And her work was revealing himself to be a calculating predator who had used their unborn child as insurance against discovery. You're right about one thing, Elena said, her voice deadly calm. I am too good a person to let our daughter grow up thinking that what you've done is acceptable. She activated the final holographic display, divorce papers, criminal complaints, and a detailed dossier of evidence. You have two choices, Marcus. You can cooperate with the investigation, return what you've stolen, and accept a quiet divorce. Or you can fight me, and I will make sure every detail of your crimes becomes public knowledge. Marcus stared at the documents, his face pale. You can't do this. The scandal will destroy both of us. No, Elena corrected. It will destroy you? I'm the victim here, Marcus. I'm the pregnant wife whose husband stole her life's work to fund his affair. Public opinion will be very much on my side. She stepped closer, her hand protectively over her belly. I'm not the naive scientist you married, Marcus. I'm a woman who has spent 3 years building quantum encryption systems. I know how to hide information, how to protect it, and how to use it. Did you really think I wouldn't notice when you started stealing from me? Marcus's composure finally cracked completely. Elena, please. Think about what you're doing. Think about our daughter. I am thinking about our daughter, Elena replied. I'm thinking about the world I want to raise her in. A world where her mother didn't let her father's crimes go unpunished. A world where she learns that actions have consequences, and that love without respect is just manipulation. She handed him the divorce papers. You have 24 hours to decide. Cooperate and accept the divorce quietly, or face the full consequences of your actions. Either way, this marriage is over. Marcus took the papers with shaking hands, his face a mask of defeat and rage. You're making a mistake, Elena. You're destroying everything we've built together. No, Marcus, Elena said, her voice filled with quiet strength. You destroyed it the moment you decided to betray me. I'm just cleaning up the wreckage. As Marcus left the laboratory, Elena placed both hands on her belly, feeling her daughter's movements. It's going to be okay, little one, she whispered. Mama's going to make sure you grow up in a world where truth matters more than convenience. The confrontation was over. The war was about to begin. Marcus Kane was not a man who accepted defeat gracefully. Elena had given him 24 hours to decide, but he used that time to mobilize every resource at his disposal. By morning, the full machinery of his corporate empire and family connections was grinding into motion. The first salvo came through his lawyer, a shark named Preston Wade, who specialized in destroying reputations. Dr. Vasquez, Wade said over the phone, his voice dripping with false sympathy. My client is deeply concerned about your mental state. Pregnancy can cause significant emotional instability, and these wild accusations suggest you may need professional help. Elena, sitting in her lawyer Victoria Sterling's office, listened to the veiled threats with clinical detachment. Sterling, a formidable woman who had built her career dismantling corporate conspiracies, smiled grimly as she took notes. "Mr. Wade," Sterling replied, "my client has documented evidence of corporate espionage, theft of intellectual property, and adultery. If Mr. Kane wishes to claim she's mentally unstable, he's welcome to try. Dr. Vasquez has published 47 peer-reviewed papers and holds 12 patents in quantum physics. Her mental acuity is well established." The second attack came through the scientific community. Suddenly, Elena's research was being questioned by colleagues who had never shown interest before. Anonymous papers appeared online challenging her methodologies. Conference invitations were mysteriously withdrawn. Marcus was using his network to isolate her professionally, but Elena had anticipated this. She had been building her own network for years, and her mentor, Professor James Whitmore, proved to be a powerful ally. "Elena," he said during one of their meetings, "I've been watching this unfold with great interest. Marcus underestimates the respect you've earned in our field. For every person he's influenced against you, I can find 3 who believe in your work." The real escalation came when Elena discovered that Marcus had frozen their joint accounts and was attempting to claim ownership of her research through their marriage contract. She arrived at the laboratory one morning to find security guards blocking her entry. "I'm sorry, Dr. Vasquez," the head of security said, clearly uncomfortable with his orders. "Mr. Kane has invoked his rights as co-owner of this facility. We're not allowed to let you access the quantum systems." Elena smiled coldly. "Tell Mr. Kane that he's welcome to try accessing my research. I'd be curious to see how he plans to break quantum encryption that I designed specifically to prevent unauthorized access." That afternoon, Elena received a call from Detective Morrison. "Elena, we have a problem. Marcus is claiming that you've been stealing from him. He's filed a counter-complaint alleging that you've been selling research to foreign governments." Elena's blood ran cold. "That's impossible. I've never—" "I know it's false," Morrison interrupted, "but he's manufactured evidence. Fake bank accounts, forged communications, the works. He's playing dirty, Elena. Really dirty." The stress was beginning to affect her pregnancy. Elena's doctor, Dr. Sarah Chon, expressed concern about her elevated blood pressure and recommended bed rest. But Elena couldn't rest. Not when Marcus was systematically destroying her life and career. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Natalia Cross, Marcus's mistress, contacted Elena directly through an encrypted channel. "Dr. Vasquez," Natalia wrote, "I need to speak with you. Marcus has become unstable. He's threatening to destroy evidence that could implicate me in federal crimes. I think we can help each other." Elena was 8 months pregnant when she met Natalia at a secure location arranged by Detective Morrison. The woman was younger than Elena had expected, perhaps 30, with sharp, intelligent eyes and the nervous energy of someone who had realized she was in over her head. "I want to make a deal," Natalia said without preamble. "I'll testify against Marcus, provide evidence of the corporate espionage, everything. In exchange, I want immunity from prosecution." Elena studied her husband's mistress with cool scientific detachment. "Why now? Why are you willing to betray him?" Natalia's composure cracked slightly. "Because he's not the man I thought he was. When you filed for divorce, he became vicious. He's been destroying evidence, threatening witnesses, trying to frame you for crimes you didn't commit. I realized that if he's willing to destroy his pregnant wife, what would he do to me? What evidence can you provide?" Elena asked. "Everything," Natalia replied. "Financial records, research files, communications between Marcus and my supervisors. At Nexus Dynamics, I recorded most of our conversations originally for insurance, but now ... I want out. Elena's lawyer, Victoria Sterling, negotiated the immunity deal with federal prosecutors. In exchange for Natalia's testimony, she would avoid prosecution for corporate espionage. The evidence she provided was devastating. Recorded conversations of Marcus planning to destroy evidence. Financial records showing systematic theft of Elena's research, and communications revealing his attempts to frame Elena for his crimes. The federal investigation moved quickly. Marcus was arrested on charges of corporate espionage, theft of intellectual property, and obstruction of justice. The media attention was intense, but Elena found that public opinion was overwhelmingly on her side. The narrative of the pregnant, scientist betrayed by her husband, resonated powerfully. Elena was in labor when the final domino fell. As contractions racked her body, Victoria Sterling called with the news that Marcus had accepted a plea deal. Rather than face trial and potential decades in prison, he would plead guilty to lesser charges and serve 5 years in federal prison. "It's over, Elena," Sterling said. "You won." But Elena, gripping the hospital bed rails as another contraction, hit, knew that the real victory was about to arrive. Her daughter was coming, and she would be born into a world where justice had been served and truth had prevailed. The war was over. The future was about to begin. Dr. Elena Vasquez held her daughter for the first time at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning in November. The baby girl, whom she named Sophia after her grandmother, had her father's dark hair, but Elena's alert, intelligent eyes. As Sophia grasped Elena's finger with surprising strength, Elena felt a profound sense of completion, not just as a mother, but as a woman who had fought for her future and won. "She's beautiful," Detective Morrison said from the doorway, his gruff voice unusually gentle. He had become more than just an investigator during the long months of legal battles. He had become a friend, a protector, and now something like an uncle to the newborn. Elena smiled, exhausted but triumphant. "She is, and she's free." Marcus was notably absent from the hospital room. He had been sentenced to 5 years in federal prison just 2 weeks earlier, and Elena had made it clear that he would have no contact with Sophia until he had served his time and proven himself worthy of fatherhood. The divorce had been finalized a month before Sophia's birth, with Elena retaining full custody and all rights to her intellectual property. The legal victory had been complete, but the personal cost had been enormous. Elena's trust in romantic relationships had been shattered, and she found herself questioning every interaction, every kindness, wondering if there were hidden motives behind friendly gestures. The only exception was her relationship with her daughter, which was pure and uncomplicated in its intensity. 6 months after Sophia's birth, Elena made a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. She used the financial settlement from the divorce. Marcus's company had been forced to pay substantial damages for their use of her stolen research to establish her own quantum research institute. "Vasquez Quantum Dynamics," she announced to Professor Whitmore as they toured the state-of-the-art facility she had built. "We'll focus on pure research, with ironclad protections for intellectual property and mandatory ethics training for all staff." Whitmore, now in his 70s, beamed with pride. "Elena, this is extraordinary. You've turned your personal tragedy into a triumph for the entire scientific community." The institute attracted top researchers from around the world, drawn by Elena's reputation and the promise of conducting cutting-edge research without corporate interference. Within a year, they had made breakthrough discoveries in quantum communication that surpassed anything Elena had achieved during her marriage. Detective Morrison, who had left his private practice to become head of security for the institute, often joked that Elena had built the most secure research facility in the world. "Not even the NSA could hack these systems," he said proudly, but Elena's greatest achievement was balancing her revolutionary work with motherhood. Sophia accompanied her to the laboratory most days, sleeping in a specially designed nursery adjacent to Elena's office. The other researchers delighted in the baby's presence, and Elena found that Sophia's innocent joy helped heal the wounds that Marcus's betrayal had left. On Sophia's first birthday, Elena received an unexpected visitor. Natalia Cross, whose testimony had been crucial in convicting Marcus, appeared at the Institute with flowers and a children's book. "Dr. Vasquez," Natalia said, her voice carefully formal, "I wanted to thank you and to apologize." Elena studied. The woman who had been her husband's mistress and ultimately his downfall. Natalia looked different, older, more subdued, marked by the experience of testifying against the man she had once loved. "You don't need to apologize to me," Elena said finally. "You made a choice to tell the truth when it mattered. That took courage." "I destroyed your marriage," Natalia said quietly. "No," Elena replied, her voice firm. "Marcus destroyed our marriage. You were just the weapon he chose to use. If it hadn't been you, it would have been someone else." They talked for an hour, two women who had been manipulated by the same man, finding a strange kind of understanding. Natalia had left Nexus Dynamics and was now working for a non-profit organization focused on scientific ethics. She had learned, as Elena had, that brilliance without integrity was ultimately destructive. 2 years after Sophia's birth, Elena made another life-changing decision. She began dating again, tentatively and carefully, but with the hard-won wisdom of experience. She chose a fellow scientist, Dr. James Rivera, who worked in theoretical physics and had no interest in commercializing research. Their relationship developed slowly, built on mutual respect and shared values, rather than passion and grand gestures. "I want you to know," Elena told James after they had been dating for 6 months, "that Sophia comes first. Always. Anyone who wants to be in my life has to understand that." James, who had been married before and had children of his own, nodded seriously. "I wouldn't expect anything else. A woman who fights for her child the way you did is exactly the kind of person I want in my life." On Sophia's 3rd birthday, Elena stood in the garden of their new home, watching her daughter play with James's children. The scene was peaceful, ordinary, and perfect in its simplicity. Detective Morrison was grilling hamburgers. Professor Whitmore was reading stories to the children, and James was helping Sophia build a tower with blocks. Alana's phone buzzed with a text message from Victoria. "Sterling, Marcus is being released early for good behavior. He's been trying to contact you." "Do you want me to handle it?" Elena looked at the message, then at her daughter, who was laughing as her block tower toppled over. "No," she texted back. "Let him contact me directly. I'm not afraid of him anymore." 3 years had passed since that terrible night when she had discovered Marcus's betrayal. 3 years since she had been a naive woman who trusted too easily and loved too completely. She was different, now stronger, wiser, more careful with her heart. But she was also happier, surrounded by people who valued her for her mind and her character rather than what they could take from her. Sophia ran to her, arms outstretched, and Elena swept her daughter into her arms. "Mama, look what I built." "It's wonderful, mi amor," Elena said, kissing Sophia's forehead. "You're going to be a brilliant engineer." As the sun set over their garden, Elena reflected on the journey that had brought her here. The betrayal had nearly destroyed her, but it had also revealed strengths she hadn't known she possessed. She had learned that love without respect was worthless, that trust had to be earned, and that the most important relationship in her life was with herself. Marcus had taken her marriage, her innocence, and her faith in easy love. But he had also given her something precious, the knowledge that she could survive anything, that she could build a life on her own terms, and that she was strong enough to protect what mattered most, Sophia giggled in her arms, and Elena smiled. The future stretched ahead of them, full of possibility and promise. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Elena knew she was ready to face them. She had fought for her daughter's future and won. Now she would spend the rest of her life making sure that future was everything it could be. The quantum physicist had learned the most important lesson of all, that love, like energy, could neither be created nor destroyed, only transformed. And sometimes transformation was the greatest gift of all.